All right, so this is the disassembly of the wiring harness that includes the positive battery cable. If you look at the ends here, you can see that one is square at the edges and one is round at the edges. You have to pay attention to the location on the fuse box, which one's round or squared. I recommend taking a picture of the fuse box before you take these wires off so you know which locations they go back to. And essentially what I've done is I've removed all of the tape that closed up the loom. Inside the loom was both of these wires that you see here. So essentially this wire here is what runs over to the alternator. And then the white wire is the positive connection from the fuse box to the battery and then over to the starter. So as I said before, it's been already removed from the harness. And you can actually see here, this is the harness as it would sit on the vehicle. So I've kind of laid it out so you can see each piece where it would go. Unfortunately, I did not get a picture of it prior to disassembly of the harness, but this should give you a good overview. So starting from the left side, as I said, these are the two connections at the fuse box. You come along here, there's a positive battery terminal connection. You continue moving over. And then at this point, this wire is for your knock sensor. This one plugs into another main harness. That's basically what feeds all of this stuff here. And then this connector goes to your alternator. This is your alternator power connector, right? And then this goes a little further down. I don't remember exactly what connector this is. So that's the overview of the harness as it is when removed from the vehicle and then disassembled. So here is the part number for the replacement battery cable. And then you can see here, here's the original battery cable, here's a replacement battery cable. Both ends have the square edges. The replacement cable appears to be thicker diameter. The information suggests that it's 6 gauge. In addition, it appears to be a longer cable than the one it's replacing. I don't think that extra length is going to be an issue. So I will reassemble this entire wiring harness with the new positive battery cable, and then I'll post a video of the new harness once it's reassembled. Okay, I've assembled the loom to the harness, and I only did a very loose spiral for the loom. And I've also made it so that the loom is not attached to the wires yet. It's just wrapped around, the tape's wrapped around the loom. That allows me to be able to slide the loom back and forth along the wires so that I can test fit it. Additionally, I've not placed these hard plastic pieces on there because honestly, I'm not sure exactly where they go until the harness is actually installed in the vehicle. So the only one I did tape up very securely is the knock sensor cable, and I actually attached that to the old loom that I had not removed. So I know that this location is correct. But all the other plastic pieces, they'll be installed once it's on the vehicle. And I can also tie down these locations with tape so that the loom is actually taped to the wire itself so they can't shift back and forth. But until I actually get it installed, I'm not gonna lock it down. So it's not easiest to see, but I'm gonna try to give you the best overview I can. This guy goes here. You can see there's an opening for the two ends of the battery cable to protrude through, okay? Then if you start from over here, you have the round-ended connector, which goes in this position. This is the passenger side. Here's the driver's side. So the new one, which is the battery cable, positive battery cable connector, it has the square ends. It goes in this location. Then recommendation when you're doing this, I had originally taped these two wires together inside the loom, but if you look here, these are not equal spacing. This wire is actually a little bit extended further out of the loom, and this one's a little shorter. It needs to be that way because if these are the same length, they'll bind up on each other. So I actually had to go back in here slit the couple pieces of tape I had holding these two together so that they can move in and out of the loom. So just keep that in mind when you do it. So then the loom goes down through this opening, down. Let's go up to the battery. Then you'll see it kind of snakes its way down. I'll see if I can get a good angle on it. Snakes its way down through here under this cold air tube, right? And once it pops out under there, you want to go under this loom. This loom is a different loom. This is actually part of the injector harness here. So you see as it comes under. So this is our loom right here that we're dealing with, passes under. And you'll notice this little tab right here. That tab is for, I gotta find it now, this guy right here, right? So that thing will slide on there like this, right? And it'll be on, so I'm gonna snap it onto this loom and then clip it on there. And then from there, it goes over to, like this connector here is on a different harness, but this is for your starter. Here's our harness. On this end, we have this big connector, which connects to another large connector right here. These two connect together. And then here's our harness as it comes through. There's the other end of the starter connector, which will go over here. And then it continues along. And you'll notice here, there's a bracket that I actually took off the alternator because it was easier. This piece pins in here. This connector, I won't remember at the moment where it goes, but here's your alternator main power, and there's your alternator connector. So essentially, it's all in place. I think it looks pretty good. This guy's a little bit longer than I would like, but I can kind of tape it out of the way and make it nice and neat. So anyway, that ought to give you at least a rough overview of where these wiring harnesses are going to fit. And I think right here we've got another connector, another stay for the wiring loom. That's one of these guys, right? I would recommend putting it in place on here first, then push the loom into it and snap it shut, and it'll be in the right spot. But wait to do that until everything is all situated so you know it's correctly positioned. All right, so this is what I ended up with. So you can see, as I showed before, they're unequal length. You see which tabs go in which location. Goes down under here, goes around. There's a clip with a stay here. Comes around. There's another one for this battery tie down post. And then there's this one. Both the wires emerge through a hole in this clip. And it goes down under the air cleaner tube. And then you can see there's a stay, this one here, right? It's on that bracket right there. And then goes along under. And then essentially, I was able to reuse this. Connects there, you got the plug there. I also zip tied the starter wire to the original part where it was attached. And I actually did that for this one too, because this one is supposed to slide into that, but the way I routed it wasn't quite correct, so this didn't really have the room to do it. But I'm not too worried about it. It's going to stay in place. Don't be afraid to use the zip ties. I wouldn't rink them really down hard on wires, but you want them snug and then attach them to whatever makes sense. You don't want these guys rattling around. You really want it to be fairly stable and secure. So anyway, I hope that helps whoever is working on their engine, attempting to change the positive wiring harness. That harness, when I did see it, there aren't many of them, it's about 350 bucks shipped. This part, positive replacement aftermarket, is $38 is what I paid. Good luck.